Welcome, welcome, welcome to First in Main, the City of Winston-Salem's podcast where we get you the scoop on city services that impact you on a daily basis. I'm your host, Katie Gore. Today in the studio, we've got Jacob Cruz. Jacob is the Assistant Historic Parks Supervisor at Historic Bethabara Park. That's a mouthful. With America's 250th anniversary coming up, we thought it would be a good idea to learn just a little bit about how the Revolutionary War played out here in Winston-Salem and tell you about some of the historic sites you might like to visit during the 4th of July celebration. We have a lot of info to get into, so let's get ready to turn the corner on First and Main. All right, today we got Jacob Cruz here to talk about the Revolutionary War. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I don't know a lot about the history here in Winston.
Hey, that's okay. We've got places for that.
All right, so I got some questions written down for me in case we get, tripped up. So you ready to get into it?
Let's go, yeah.
All right. Jacob, tell me about yourself and what Bethabara Park does.
Yeah, so I'm the, as you said, it is a long title, Assistant Historic Site Supervisor out at Historic Bethabara Park. Bethabara is the first point of European settlement in what's now Winston-Salem, 1753. A bunch of guys from this Protestant denomination called the Moravians came down there and decided they were going to build a community. And one thing led to another. They build that, they build some other towns, they build Salem, and those kind of all together become what's now Winston. So that's what we're trying to capture at Bethabara. We preserve several historic buildings from the 18th and early 19th century. We have archaeological foundations. We have ongoing research and things like that going on. Lots of school groups come by and learn how to make shingles and start fires and things like that. So it's a lot of fun.
Are you guys excited about the 250th coming up?
We're really excited. Yeah, it's kind of an ongoing thing for us. So we're really excited for all the celebrations happening this year, and then we're excited to try to keep that going as we talk about the war in the South and when it came here to Wachovia.
And so how was the Revolution different from here in the North?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is in the North, you have major armies that are constantly pitted against each other, like George Washington, right, who we think about, surprising the Hessians at Trenton, right, crossing the Delaware, all that stuff. Here in the South, it becomes much more of a violent civil war against smaller groups of men. And a lot of these guys are in militias, and you have militias on both sides fighting each other. So it just kind of devolves into a lot more of a civil war. And you still have big main armies come through, which we'll get to in a second, but a lot more of that day-to-day fighting is going to be between these militia groups.
So Winston-Salem or like Wachovia, how are we involved with the war?
Yeah, so this is the home to this group of people. They call themselves the United Brothers, but we call them the Moravians today. And they come down here to create a giant economic center. So they've sent missionaries all over the world. And missionaries are really good at making more Moravians, but they're not good at making money. So they realize we have a deficit problem here. We need to start making some money. So they come down here to kind of start their own place where they can just worship how they see fit, but also to make money. Because of that, the things that make money, right, like making shoes, making bricks, making firearms, having a lot of good bread, right, cattle, things like that. Those are the things that armies need. So then when you have armies in the South later on in the Revolution, they're looking for supplies. Well, there's a lot of supplies in what's now Winston-Salem, right, the Wachovia tract at that time. And so they're going to come here and demand those things, sometimes pay for it, sometimes not. And so most of the times you see armies in Wachovia, they're looking for food and fodder.
So we had a lot of resources here.
Really resource rich. For the backcountry of North Carolina at the time, it's unheard of that, you can go to one place and get, tinware, shoes, a new gun made, a new wagon made, and all of the bread that you could possibly eat in one place. That's just unheard of to have that concentration of economic factors in one place.
Did I hear that Cornwallis went down Main Street?
Yeah, so as the war devolves in the North, and there comes a stalemate. George Washington is outside of New York, the British are inside New York, and they're just kind of staring at each other across the lines, seeing who's going to jump first. The British create a strategy called the Southern Strategy where they're like, okay, well, since this isn't working out, we'll send an army to the South, and they'll take over the South. And then George Washington is going to lose all of his supplies. They'll pull men from the North to the South, etc. they take Charleston. After the fall of Charleston, this guy named Cornwallis, Earl Cornwallis, he is put in charge of a Southern army, a British Southern army that's going to come up through South Carolina, take over North Carolina, then Virginia, and cut Washington off from the South. In doing so, he fights several battles in South Carolina. Everything's going really, really well. So he starts marching up into North Carolina, and he's going to march. So he starts at the Shallow Ford on the Yadkin, on the edge of Forsyth County today, and he's going to march through the Moravian towns of Bethania, Bethabara, and Salem. He's going to march right through kind of up University and then straight through Main Street on his way through Old Salem, and then he's going to stop and camp kind of just outside of town that night. So there would be a point in February of 1781 where you have a whole British army kind of walking straight through town.
I bet that was a sight.
I bet it was. I mean, by that point in the war, I'm sure they were a little ragged looking. Mm-hmm. They've been on campaign for a really long time. But still, we know the professionalism of these British soldiers when they're coming through town is extreme. And they're well ordered, they're well behaved. The Moravians say, wow, we were like shocked to see everything is true. These guys like really know what they're doing. These are like real soldiers. This is crazy to see them here in our towns.
That's cool. We love to go walking through Old Salem. It's so beautiful and historic. And, right there in the town square, they have like a thing that talks about the 4th of July. Can you tell me about that? Yeah.
So after the war, the governor of North Carolina, Governor Martin, is going to write a decree that says, we've signed these treaties in France and the war is coming to an end. We're going to be our own country. Let's have a day of reflection. He actually calls it a celebration of Thanksgiving and peace. And the Moravians, after struggling a lot through the war, because when those people come for supplies, like sometimes they're really nice about it and sometimes they're really, really, really not nice about it, and take things at gunpoint, scare people, injure people. So the Moravians are like, yeah, peace and Thanksgiving. We're about that, Mm-hmm. We definitely feel the need to celebrate that. And so on July 4th, 1783, in all of the Moravian towns that now make up Winston, there's 6 of them at that point, they're going to have simultaneous celebrations. Now, they're not going to look anything like 4th of July today, right? No fireworks, no cannons, no, parades, things like that. Instead, it's a very peaceful demonstration. So they're going to light up the whole town with candles. They're going to march through singing hymns. It's a very somber procession in a lot of ways, but a thankful one because they're glad the war's over because they've suffered, quite a bit during the war.
Not quite as loud as it is now.
Definitely not as loud. Yeah. Now you can go up north on July 4th. If you go earlier, you're going to see the beginnings of our July 4th today with the fireworks and everything. But down here, the celebration was very much a reflection of peace and return to the norm. And what's really cool is our friends over at Old Salem do a really good job at recreating that every year. And so they're going to recreate that procession. They're going to recreate a lot of the music. The Moravians are very musical people, lots of famous Moravian composers. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have band concerts all day. There's going to be living historians in town. You can go into the tavern and sign an oath of allegiance to whichever side you feel like you want to join. And then they'll have also militia soldiers kind of showing what the town might have looked like in 1776.
Yes, so 250 is coming up real soon. So what other events we got going on?
But that's the big one for Winston. At Bethabara, we had an event back in April, which was really, really fun. But I think most of the focus, the powers that be in the state and in the federal government have decided July 4th of this year is the big date. And so I think you're going to see kind of a whole weekend of festivities focused around Old Salem Museum and Gardens and Home Moravian Church down there. That's going to be really exciting.
Jacob, I really appreciate you visiting me today. Is there anything else important we left out?
No, it was my pleasure. I'm glad to be here. Invite people as well. We're doing a lot of research about the Southern campaign out at Bethabara, so come visit us and hear about prisoners of war later in the war and all kinds of Southern war facts that affect the Moravians.
All right. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, my pleasure.
For all of our listeners out there, be sure to check out our show notes for the links to all the events Jacob mentioned. And before you click away, don't forget to subscribe so you can get alerts to every episode we put out. You can find us on YouTube, through our city's website, cityofws.org, or on your favorite podcasting platform by searching First and Main Winston-Salem. I'm Katie Gore, here to educate, communicate, and collaborate, reminding you to not just turn the corner on First and Main, but make it your destination. Until next time.